Hey guys, Danny just busted a light bulb and had to replace it with a fluorescent light, and it was like blinding me. So I just decided to do this video with sunglasses on. Okay, so it's 9:14 a.m. It's Tuesday, and I've gotten a bunch of really cool crowdfunding ideas in from people, and I have a bunch of calls lined up today with several of you to discuss your idea. And I wanted to give you a little bit of prep work because I noticed some patterns and some assumptions that people were making that I just didn't want to waste my breath and have to say the same damn thing 200 times. So I'm just gonna just say it right here. So basically, here's the deal. Obviously, you can do crowdfunding on your own, and hey, if you want to, get to it. Okay. Here's the vision that I have that I'm working on. Okay. Ideally, I want you to be a case study for Overcome Everything for crowdfunding. Number one, I want to prove that you can do all sorts of crazy crap and raise money with crowdfunding. So that's the first most important thing. Second thing is, if Overcome Everything you can kind of think about Overcome Everything a little bit like a record label, or a little bit like a producer, or what's the term in film?
I don't know.
Like if you write a movie and you go to a film company and they make it for you, and they like blow it up and do all the marketing and stuff.
Yeah, I thought there'd be like a production house or
production house. So you can kind of think of Overcome Everything a little bit like a production house, or a little bit like a record label. I know that that's not quite in the spirit of crowdfunding. Normally, it's like crowdfunding cuts out the middleman, but the whole idea here is that Overcome Everything wants to fund your dreams, and in order to pull that off, we're going to need some help from you. But the cool part is, we could pay you to make your dream a reality. So, here's the idea. The idea is, whatever you come to me with for your numbers, we're going to probably amplify them, and we're probably going, in terms of the amount of money that you want to raise, we're going to amplify that number, because whatever we work on, it has to be a profitable project for Overcome Everything in order for us to spend time on it. So a $5,000 project isn't even worth Overcome Everything's time. We need to make that into a $50,000 project. Okay? So otherwise, our efforts are just better spent, rolling out a new product, right? So ideally, what we're going to do is roll out 5 crowdfunding projects this week with Overcome Everything members. I'm one of them, right? And we're going to amplify up your idea so that when we send you to go do your thing, whether it's a trip, whether it's creating an art installation, whether it's doing an online burlesque show, whatever your thing is, you'll be able to get paid by Overcome Everything to do that, right, instead of or as part of your normal day-to-day job for that period of time. Okay, so in the case of, let me just say, an online burlesque show, that's one of Josh's many ideas. Totally whacked out, very weird and edgy idea. And by the way, there are limits. Depending on how far Josh wants to push the burlesque show, I'll be like, sorry dude, that's just like one step too close to pornography or whatever. So there will be some limits and some restrictions. I'm going to try to keep it pretty free flowing. So far there hasn't really been any big red flags. But if Overcome Everything is producing this thing, then Overcome Everything needs to put our stamp of approval on it, and we need to be smart about that, right? We can't be completely dumbass about it. So, gambling and porn are out, is what I'm saying. So,
damn, I'm out here.
Anyway, so the basic idea here is that we're going to take your idea, we're going to amplify it up, we're going to pop it up, we're going to make it bigger. Okay, so that it can be so I can put a few people on the background work within OE. Now maybe that's going to mean we need to hire some outsourced people to bring them in to help you do your thing. But you're going to become kind of like the project manager for your thing, and you're going to be responsible for making it happen. And Overcome Everything is going to help you do that. But ultimately, you're going to need to do a lot of the work. Okay, now you might say, well, why the heck wouldn't I just do that on my own? Well, do it on your own if you want to do it on your own, or you can have the Overcome Everything super juice and we can all go out and work together to make your thing a reality. Chances of raising the money to do that obviously are much higher if you have a small army of people working to spread the word about your project. So that's why you want Overcome Everything involved. And obviously, if you're just going to do it strictly on your own, you would have had no reason to submit your crowdfunding ideas to me in the first place. So you probably already thought this through. So number one, if you're just thinking strictly about small costs, we're going to figure out a way to make it a more significant project with a much higher profit margin for the company, so that we can spend a whole bunch of our time, effort, energy, and resources on making a reality. So be prepared for me to help you to think bigger. Jason and Sky had $1 million project. Pat had it between a $70,000 and $1 million project. So those might not need to be made bigger, right? Sarah gave me a $5,000 project. Definitely needs to be made bigger in terms of the scope. So keep that in mind. And essentially, what I have in mind here is I haven't worked out all the details. I'm going to work them out with Jim. It's going to depend on some numbers and things. But the basic idea is, if you're going to be the project manager for this thing, we're going to have to cover. We're going to need to pay you while you're working on the thing, right? Whatever you are normally used to earning. Then we're going to have to pay someone else to do your work while you're working on this other thing, right? And so what that means is we're going to have to pay twice your salary, not just one time your salary. Because, like, if Sarah's gone for 3 weeks to Africa hanging out with gorillas, right, or elephants or whatever, or elephants riding gorillas,
Gorillafants.
a gorillafant, then we're going to need to have someone cover her job responsibilities while she's away, right? So maybe not 100% of those responsibilities, but some of them certainly. And so that's the first thing, is think about whatever amount of time it would take you to do this thing. We pretty much need to double that in terms of your salary with the scope of the project. So that's a quick way to increase it. But then we have to add on at least a 100% profit margin for OE. Otherwise, it's not worth our time working on. I mean, we could do an internal launch in 2 months and boom, make $2 million. So we need to think about that very seriously from a cash gen perspective for OE to make it worthwhile. What else? And as the project manager, we're going to end up giving you a percentage of profits for the project, assuming it's successfully funded. You will become the project manager, and you will be responsible for following through on delivering on everything we promise. Okay? We're going to need to roll these things out quickly, and I want you to expect to fail miserably. Okay? You'll probably fail the first several projects you work on. Okay? Imagine that you work on this, you have this grandiose dream, this grandiose thing you've wanted to do your whole life. Okay? You roll it out. It's a $500,000 project. And you get like $500. And it fizzles and dies. What are you going to do? How are you going to react? You're going to be a wuss? You're going to take that? Or are you going to figure out a way of modifying the project, going back at it, and keep on rolling? Well, so that's the real question I want you to ask yourself. Because if we're going to go for something, we're going to go for something big, and that means we're going to fail big in some cases. Now, maybe we'll nail it every time out of the park without fail, but I doubt it, right? And so I want to set up a realistic expectation. If we fail on funding the project, it doesn't matter, because you haven't put any work into the project, right? We've just learned some stuff. So if you're going to be really emotional and get really upset and like take it personally and be depressed for the next 3 years, if you try to crowdfund this one time and it doesn't work, then probably you shouldn't do this. Okay? So I'm just setting up some things for you to think about before we talk. On the other hand, if you're willing to go back and try this 10 times, okay, and you will not take no for an answer, and you'll figure out a way to make it work no matter what, then that's the kind of person that I'm really excited about working with. So in all seriousness, think about those things. We're going to stop the video now. We'll talk to you later on. Overcome everything. Good night and good luck.